Welcome everybody to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel. I can hear myself. That's good, isn't it? Oh, I can't anymore. How are you all doing? Today I'm joined by Bakar as always for some deadline dilemmas. We should make this a weekly thing, I think, because I quite enjoy this.
For sure.
Getting all the
Yeah,
information at
for
the end of
sure,
the
Jack.
week, and now we've had this breaking Solanke news today. I think we should just start straight with that, right? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah. Hi, hello everyone. Hello, welcome to all the listen viewers. Um, yeah, I mean it's actually quite big in the context of the week. Uh, I assume a lot of people were in this position where they've already either sold Kwanzaa or had made peace with, uh, keeping him, but at the same time they own Solanke, and now this sort of last minute news has sort of scuppered their plans. So I think without further ado, I think we should address the Solanke dilemma straight away. Um, I see you don't own him. I see you're actually lucky enough to have jumped on Muniz at the start. I had Pedro, so we don't at least have this injury to navigate. But Solanke is really popularly owned, and I think the owners have um, they've gotten on the end of bad variance. To be very honest, it's horrible luck because I was watching the game on Monday, and Solanke was actually front and center of how Spurs were playing. He was integral to the goal threat. He on another day could have braced actually. So it's very, very unfortunate because I assume his durability was one of the reasons why a lot of managers paid that much money for him, and now he's going to actually miss his first game since last season. He didn't even miss a single game last season. So yeah, I personally think he's a sell because from Andrews Postacoglu's comments, I could sort of figure out that he wasn't entirely sure whether or not he'll feature in Game Week 3, in which case I think he's a sell. Because had we known that he would definitely be back by Game Week 3, then there was a case of holding him, uh, especially if you had a eighth attacker to cover. But I assume a lot of people don't have that luxury, in which case I think he's a sell. Now, the next question is who we sell him for. I think there are two ways you can sort of go about this. Firstly, let's assume you have a eighth playable attacker, which I assume a lot of people will be in the minority. And let's say if someone has Rogers, they can choose to play him this week and potentially then sell Solanke for Watkins potentially next week if they sort of have, let's say two or three free transfers, then Watkins is gettable ahead of Aston Villa's good run of fixtures. Having said that, I think a more realistic route would be that a lot of people would have wings or, I mean, they won't have anyone to cover for his absence. In which case, I think Armstrong is potentially the best replacement. I think Muniz is close as well. Muniz and Pedro. I don't think there's much
Really,
between these three. If I
Armstrong,
was picking one, yeah,
crazy.
if I was picking one, I would go Armstrong personally, because I like the entry point when you look at the fixtures. So Nottingham Forest
Yeah.
at home, Brentford away, United at home, Ipswich at home, Bournemouth away. I think the fixtures are fine, and he's pretty much playable in every week. Now, I have personally picked João Pedro from my own team, uh, and I think he's kind of on a similar level to Armstrong. I mean, at this very point last week, Jack, I was personally running round and round in circles between Armstrong and Pedro. But I just think the next two fixtures for Armstrong right now are better. Where he's playing Forest at home and Pedro's playing United at home, and then he's playing Arsenal away. So I would rather probably go with Armstrong if I was making that call right now.
Oh,
But I don't hate the
really?
Pedro shout either. I don't hate the Muniz shout either. I would go with Armstrong personally.
Wow, that is interesting. That is really. I'm not sure I'd do that, to be honest. I think I'll go Muniz. Maybe that's because he's just in my team. But let's actually let's compare the two on Fantasy Football Hub, and let's just see what the predicted points are for both of them. If we go here and then have a look at yeah, Armstrong versus Muniz. So over the next four, Muniz is expected to get 21 points and Armstrong 18 points. That's the predicted points anyway. And I think I would definitely go Muniz here without a doubt if you've got the money. I think he just plays for a much better team that I expect to do better in those fixtures.
But I assume a lot of people, since they're downgrading, funds are not an issue, right? So
Yeah.
I assume you can get to any one of the two if you like. I think personally, points. I think both of them will score similarly across the next 4 weeks, uh, and in which case, I think the point 0.5 that you get from Armstrong can potentially go a long way in helping the rest of your squad.
Oh,
Uh, I
I
know.
genuinely could not disagree more with that. Honestly, I think Muniz is just a much Muniz plays for a much better team. I would 100% go with Muniz.
Yeah, that's fine, but
Interestingly,
that does not
Andrew
necessarily
saying in
mean.
the chat as a Saints fan, Armstrong is an interesting choice, which is funny.
I mean, it's just the way I would go. I
Yeah,
don't,
that's
as
fair.
mentioned earlier, I don't think there's much between them. In which case, I would just rather go with the guy who's cheaper.
That's
That's
fair.
simply the logic. I don't really think that Armstrong will kill it or Muniz will won't kill it. I think both will score similarly, especially when you look at Fulham's fixtures. I mean, I would expect Muniz to do well as well. So it's not as if I think he's a bad option. I think if presented with the choice, I would probably side towards Armstrong. That's just where I would go. I like having, since the start of the season, I like having the flexibility of a 5.5 forward.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I guess you did go with Joao Pedro over Muniz. So there must have been
Yeah.
a reason for that. Obviously, you use the money elsewhere in your team, but there we go.
I also think to some extent, the Hub AI is overrating Muniz's minutes. I don't think they'll be as high. I think he's gonna be pretty prone to getting subbed around the 65 to 70 minute mark for Jimenez. And yeah, I mean, I think with the signing of Archer, Armstrong might be at risk of similar, but we saw in the first game he played 90 minutes. That was
Yeah,
encouraging. So in fact, I think Armstrong is actually stronger in terms of expected minutes,
I agree with
and
that.
then
Yeah.
he's cheaper. Then he's on pens. So there are plenty of things which go for Armstrong, which don't exactly go for Muniz. But again, having said that, I don't think there's much between them simply because, as you mentioned, Muniz plays for a better team.
I just look at it from like a footballing perspective, and I just do not expect Southampton to win or get many points in these games at all. And I just think that I do expect Fulham to do better. Obviously, now if say Southampton were as good a team as Fulham, I would say Armstrong is better, even if they were the same price. But I think yeah, it's one of those. If you think you can use the money down the line, I would say maybe go for Armstrong. But I'm I would definitely go for Muniz over the two. Let's move to Kwanzaa. You've kept him, haven't you, in your team up to this? Is that right? You've kept him.
Yes, that's right. I
I like that. I like that.
resisted the urge to sell him out. I resisted the urge to transfer him out.
Okay.
I mean, of course, it wasn't ideal to see, a player drop in price so early in the season.
Yeah.
But since I had a dunk for cover, I thought I could potentially make better use of my transfers later. I didn't want to sort of spend my transfers on not necessarily a high value spot, I would say. So, for example, I think I might have to sort Nkunku out at some point in time over the next 2 or 3 weeks because he's looking like a bit of a dodgy pick. Similarly, I'm personally eyeing a move from Saka to Salah in Game Week 4, which is a time where Saka is playing Spurs and Man City, and Liverpool have Forest at home and Bournemouth at home in Game Week 4 and 5 respectively. And crucially, in Game Week 5, City are playing Arsenal, so I want to have Salah as the captain. So long story short, I wanted to do Saka to Salah, and I assume I won't be able to do that in one move. I will need a few transfers to be able to make that tactical switch, which is why I want to save my transfers. I don't want to use it on something which is as unnecessary as a 4.5 million defender. Having said that, I think there are teams I've seen with the likes of Barco, Kwanzaa, and with, threadbare benches to cover. In which case, I think it makes perfect sense for people to jump. And if I was making that transfer at that point in time, I would have probably gone to Robinson. In terms of security of starts, he probably seems best to own. Um, but yeah, I didn't think my team as such needed that transfer.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That is definitely fair enough. Okay, let's get to some of your questions, guys. And Joe has said, well, actually, let's start with Wayne. Wayne says, what about Muniz minutes? I think the point there is that Jimenez will come on for him in most games. I'm not sure it'll be as early as Bakar's saying, but definitely, yeah, he's not going to play 90s hardly ever. He didn't do it last year when Jimenez was fit, even with Vinicius as well. Don't expect him to do it this year. And that is definitely, even with Archer coming into Southampton, that's definitely a plus for Armstrong. Joe says, Gabriel to Gvardiol for the Ipswich fixture. No other defender subs for Gabriel. Now that's an interesting one because if you can rotate Gabriel through the bad fixtures, he's obviously a great pick. But you didn't start with an Arsenal defender. I got rid of Gabriel right at the last minute, really, just because looking at the first five for Arsenal, it was always going to be tough, I think, to keep clean sheets. But they are an elite defense. What would you do? Would you be tempted to do that move if you had to play Gabriel this week against Villa away?
Um, what exactly was the transfer?
Is Gabriel to Gvardiol?
No, I think it's a low priority transfer to make again. I think Gabriel is easily a good hold for the next few fixtures. I do expect Villa to score, but it won't exactly shock me if Arsenal kept a clean sheet.
Yeah,
Besides, I think, let's say if I was wildcarding this week or if I was buying a defender this week, I think I would have picked Guardiol over Gabriel, but it's not enough for me to make that transfer.
yeah, sure.
Another thing I'd sort of like to touch upon, which is sort of reminded me by this question, is that I think a lot of Solanke owners who, let's say, were in this position where they had Konza and decided to save a transfer, I think this injury potentially opens up another route where they can, let's say, downgrade Solanke to a Armstrong or Muniz and upgrade Kwanzaa to, let's say, a Guardiol. I I know it's a hit, but I think there's a very good chance that that hit pays off early in the season because I would expect those 4 points to be recouped over the next 4 to 5 weeks. I don't think it's a bad
Wow.
idea.
Sorry, say that.
In
Say that
that
again.
case,
What was that? What was the move?
Solanke to Armstrong and Kwanzaa to Guardiol.
Yeah, yeah. And that is
Yeah,
yeah. You have point. You have
it
point
has enough.
five. So you could do
Yeah,
you
it has
could do
point four.
Muniz. You could do Muniz instead.
I don't think you could because Kwanzaa's fallen in price.
Oh, sorry. Of course, of course. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, so it's
Very
it's
good
it's
point.
Armstrong and Guardiola, but
Yeah,
even with Armstrong, I think it makes sense. I think so. This
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah. Okay,
this
I
is
get you.
this has changed my thinking a bit in terms of saving the transfer. So if someone is still in that position, I mean, I would be very tempted to make that move.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Don't you think it pays off
Yeah,
over the
definitely
next four or
does.
five weeks?
I think the thing is this year, like it's going to be hard mentally to make hits, take hits, just because you know that there are
Yeah, I
going to be
mean,
managers out there that are able to roll and do big changes to their team for free. But if you look at it objectively and just like logically over the next four, does that work out? Yeah, no doubt about it.
exactly. But I mean, you can only control what's in your control, right?
Yeah,
Let's
yeah, of
focus on the
course.
controllables and let's not look at other people's teams. Um, if you really find yourself in the precarious position of owning both Kwanzaa and Solanke, and let's say Barco, then I mean, why not?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Interesting one from Patrick. He asks, what about Solanke to Watkins this week if you have the funds, even though Watkins plays Arsenal? I think that's a great move, personally. I know it's a
Yeah, I
tough
don't think
fixture
that's
this
a bad
week,
move.
but that's a great. I
Yeah,
think that's a great long-term move.
it's a, it exactly. It's a great long-term move. I mean, well done on keeping 1.5 million in the bank in the first place. I mean, I must commend you for doing that because I struggled to keep zero point 0.5 million in the bank, let
Yeah,
alone 1.5 million in the bank. So excellent job there.
yeah, 100%. Let's have a look at Watkins. I mean, yeah, it's not a good fixture this week. Well, I mean, it's not an awful fixture. Predicted to score 5 points. It's not that bad. I guess the risk with him is that you probably will get an early sub again this week, I'd imagine. But then from next week, which is where you really want him for that run of life, really good fixtures, at least the first four, if not those six there that you can see it just so good. Then he might be up to speed. Obviously after the Euros, and the fixtures are just so good. And to be fair, like Villa were good in Game Week 1 as a team. They looked really good. They looked sharp again. Obviously, they're going to have more games this season to contend with. But if you've got the money, yeah, definitely a good move. I mean, going up to Watkins compared to going down to an Armstrong or a Muniz that's incomparable, even with the money you saved there, realistically, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
I
Next question.
agree.
You agree? Next question. Eze Saka or Son for captain? Game Week 2. Says the inspirational edge.
Mm,
Now, that is
yeah, it's
somebody that
tricky.
probably doesn't have Salah or Haaland, I'd imagine, which is
It's a
tough.
tricky question, actually. It's actually a tricky question because I want to say Son, but he didn't really look good in the first week. He was hogging the touchline and he was playing fairly wide.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, I definitely prefer Son to Saka. And Eze I expect Eze to go peak this week as well, but I would still go with Son because of the fixture. I just think there are too many injuries um, in the Everton backline. And this Solanke news it definitely means that Son is going to be on penalty, so that's something in his favor. Yeah,
that's
I'd go
true.
Son.
That's true. Yeah, he looked very, very rusty. I mean, his touch was just poor. There was that chance where it came to him on his left foot. You
Yeah.
thought quick touch, finish, typical Sun goal. Couldn't get it done though. I'm not sure what was going on there, but yeah, you're right. Positionally, he was a little bit wide, but I guess we could have said the same about Salah, and he still made a couple of very, very, very darting runs in behind that saw him score his points. Taylor asked with the super chat. Thank you very much, Taylor. I've got Solanke, Kwanzaa, and Barco, but I was already benching Hall and Nkunku. Think I should roll and do Solanke and Nkunku to Watkins and a 5 or a 5.5 in game week 3. So the question is, do you take a hit now and get it done, or wait a week, play Hall and Nkunku instead? I think Taylor's got a pretty solid squad there, to be fair, and then do it for free
Yeah.
next week.
So this is basically telling me that Nkunku is his eighth attacker, right?
I
In which
suppose
case,
so. Yeah,
again,
which is
yeah, I
crazy.
mean, I think you're in the minority where you can actually afford to probably roll and make that decision next week if Solanke is unfit. Then you can get Watkins, like we suggested earlier, and uh, I expect Newcastle to concede, if I'm being honest,
Yeah, me too.
but it's fine. I mean, I'm playing Dunk as well, and I expect Brighton to concede, so you can play Hall. I don't think it's the worst fixture in the world, uh, and yeah, I would just keep Barco and Konza on the bench. I think the only sort of transfer that I would consider is the hit that I mentioned earlier to Jack. But in your case, because you have Nkunku as the eighth attacker, I think I would be tempted to avoid the hit.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I really, really do. Okay, next question. From who should we go with? So Taylor says that Smith Rowe is technically the eighth. And yeah, obviously Smith Rowe would come in there.
Yeah, but Smith Rowe has a good
Yeah,
fixture this week,
yeah.
right? So yeah, that's fine.
No, I think what you're saying there, Taylor, is reasonable. Just have a bit of patience, and you know what moves you're gonna have next week. And also the thing is now, like, you're not gonna burn transfers as well. I know you're not up to that stage yet, but there's no risk of not doing something this week and then like losing the transfers for it next week, if that kind of makes sense, I suppose. All right. Nick says Kwanzaa to Robinson for free, so money in the bank still, I suppose, to do
Yeah,
that. Would you do
yeah. I
that
mean, it
now,
depends
even
on
after the price drop?
it depends on what kind of bench he has. So let's assume he does not have three playable defenders, and let's say he's playing, Porro, Trent, and uh, let's say Johnson from Ipswich or Konza from Arsenal, so from Aston Villa. In that case, I would be sort of tempted to make that transfer because the third defender does not necessarily have a good fixture or a playable fixture. But in most cases, I would want to roll the transfer.
Yep. Fair enough. Interestingly, no one's asked yet about Haaland triple captain that I've seen. Maybe people aren't thinking
Yeah.
about it. What are you, I've not spoken to you about it this week. What are you thinking? Is that tempting you at all?
Yes, I won't do it, but it's tempting for sure. I don't think there will be a huge difference in, let's say, what I expect from my captain in the double game week and what I expect from Haaland this week. I think they'll score similar, if I'm being totally honest. Um,
Yeah.
at least according to my expectation. But it's just that I like having that comfort blanket of a higher floor and
Yeah.
potentially a higher ceiling, which is what I want to go with, because I do think that outside of the one double game week where everyone is going to use their bench boost, apart from that, I think there will be at least one double game week where we can use the triple captaincy chip, and I think that one double game week is going to present us with the potentially a more compelling option, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm at the stage now where even if there's not another double game week, I'm sure there will be another good single game week for any individual that would be fine. And I agree with you. The reason why I'm not going to do it this week is because of the floor. So for Haaland to get what we would consider a good triple captain score, he'd have to score twice, pretty much, right? I mean, a goal and assist as well would be decent, but 13 points you'd say is a good score, or getting towards a good score. 15 is what you'd be happy with, really. It's not a massively important chip triple captain. It's very overhyped every season, to be fair. But like, I don't know, in a double, if we were to use it in a double, just the floor, as you say, is a lot higher. There are 6 bonus points available 4 appearance points available, obviously. And I also don't think like what are the chances that we get Haaland against Southampton at home later in the season as well if we do have to use other chips in the double. I think something like that could also happen, for Salah as well.
Exactly, exactly. So I think you just wait and watch. There's like 37 weeks of the season still to
Yeah,
go.
yeah. Okay. Let's go to another question from Andrew. No funds in the bank. Still have my free transfer. If I was looking at a straight up replacement for Solanke, who would you look at? Now, obviously, we've already answered this, but he asked Muniz and then asked Mateta and Xerxes. Are Mateta and
Yeah,
Xerxes options?
I don't think so because their minutes are still up in the air. They're not 90-minute men. Mateta looked really rusty. I watched the Brentford game and he was actually hooked at halftime, Brentford versus
To be
Palace.
fair, like he played
So
the week before in the Olympic final. It's a tough
yeah, but
turnaround.
he looked rusty,
No. I'm
right?
not
So
excusing it.
I
I'm
don't
saying
know.
like he was
Yeah,
always going to be rusty. I don't know why he was played in that game. It's weird.
yeah. I'd expect him to start this week, but again,
Yeah.
could easily be subbed around the 65-minute mark. And I'm not even sure Xerxes is going to start. So yeah, might as well just go with the safer option with Muniz if you want to go there.
Someone else has asked Chris Wood, LMCHX. Could that be an option, or is that just a little bit too short term now with players potentially coming back? I mean, he's the pick of the players so far from that bracket. He did well first game week. Obviously, only had one shot, but what did he get? 9 points. It's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Wood is all right, but I think he's more of a sell in the coming weeks as opposed to a buy right
Yeah,
now
yeah,
because Eddie Nketiah is likely to sign for Forest, and I think that's enough to just put me off.
yeah. That's fair enough. Another super chat from Tashi. Should I do a -4 Bruno and Solanke? Oh, this is tempting. Bruno and Solanke to Foden and Muniz, or should I roll
No,
my
I won't sell
transfer?
Bruno.
You said
I won't sell for Bruno for sure. I won't even do
really?
Bruno to Foden for free. I won't even do it for free. Bruno to
Even this
Foden.
week?
I won't.
Whoa.
Yeah, because we don't know whether Foden's gonna start firstly, right?
Yeah,
I
that's
won't do it.
true. If you knew he was going to
And
start, if you had a leak lineup and you knew Foden was
I
starting,
mean, but there are a lot of ifs. The
I
first
know.
if is that I have no other issues in the team to address, and
Yeah,
and clearly the person asking the question has Solanke in his team, which is clearly a much bigger fire to put out than Bruno. So I would look at addressing Solanke if need be. And again, we've sort of discussed Solanke in detail
yeah,
um, in our video already. So you can just look back
yeah.
at the recording.
I guess he's just saying that like if he does move down from Solanke and then has the money to upgrade Bruno,
No, not for me.
not for you. Wow, that is a big claim. I think yeah, it
Jack, let's be realistic. It's
could
easier
be
to be
100 points for
to be
Foden. Could be 100 points.
I mean, exactly. It's obviously easier to be sitting here and get excited about, these shiny new toys that we don't
Yeah,
own.
yeah.
But realistically, let's say if this was your team, you would never do it. I mean, I would never do it. You would never
Hey
do it.
man,
So
I'd never
yeah.
have Bruno in the first place. That's the truth.
That's shots fired. Shots fired.
No, not really, not really.
Hat trick incoming. Bullet
Uh,
header from Dunk, assisted by João Pedro, followed by Bruno hat trick.
wow. Okay. Right. Let's go to another question from Mark. Bench one of these. Lewis Hall, Van der Ven, or Rogers this week.
I would definitely play Van der Ven.
Yeah, you can't
I
bench Van
would,
der Ven. That's the
yeah,
plum fixture.
yeah. I would probably bench Hall. I think, yeah.
Really?
I
Ooh.
think Bournemouth will score.
Yeah, me
I think
too.
Bournemouth
Actually,
will
but the thing is,
score.
they've lost. I do still worry for them offensively. I know Semenyo's kind of
They've
filling the
signed a
role a
new
little
guy,
bit, but
Evan Nilsson. Evan Nilsson is
yeah,
there,
is he going to be
so
ready to play? Not sure.
I'm not sure, but I don't rate Newcastle defensively that much. I think they were lucky in the first week as well. I'm pretty sure they'll concede this week.
Okay. Michael says, how many players out of your squad would you have to wildcard? I suppose flags, injuries, left backs going to Sevilla, that sort of thing.
I mean, despite all of that, despite the rough luck that a lot of FPL minds have, I still think it's way too early to wildcard this week. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it does seem way
all
too
it takes
early.
is all it takes is one hit to sort everything out.
Yeah.
And like that's not worth a wild card. Surely not.
No, no, no. I don't think so. Don't think so. Guys, thanks for watching. By the way, thanks for tuning in. Almost 500 of you in here. Thank you very much for
Yeah, make
spending a
sure
bit
to
of your.
subscribe to the channel
Actually, yeah.
and
What
to
am I
like the
doing
video.
here? Actually, do subscribe if you
Yeah.
are new to the channel, or even if you're old to the channel, and you haven't, you've watched loads of videos and you've never subscribed. We're actually extremely close now, Bakar. I don't know if you know this. So we're closing in on 100,000 subscribers very rapidly indeed. We are currently on, let me just check this. We're currently on 99,100 and something, 160 or something. So,
And I think if
yeah.
we keep doing these live streams, these will increase sooner rather than later,
Yeah, so,
hopefully. If
yeah,
we keep getting the support that we do.
exactly. So 100%, guys. Get in the description. Click the subscribe button and get us to 100K. Okay, we got time for a couple more questions. Right, here we go. Who should I pick here? Oh yeah, like the video too, says K Vigan. Thank you very much, my friend. You're doing my job for me. Yeah, like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't seen, I've pinned in the live chat as well a link to sign up to Fantasy Football Hub. It's still not too late to do it. You can still get 50% off if you want to see loads of stats, loads of tools, your team, AI recommended transfers, etc. How your team looks for the next few weeks as well. Very, very important and good to plan. And also, still doing the deal. If you don't win your mini league this season, you will get your money refunded to you. Okay. Julian, I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. I do apologize, my friend. But he says, or they say, by keeping Kwanzaa, would you put him in the starting 11 or bench him? Now, I will give some more context to this. No? Okay. You just wouldn't do it.
Yeah, please give the context that you want to add.
Well, no, there's no context. I was just going to say, because this person hasn't said who they're benching him for. But let's say it's not someone that's not super strong. Otherwise, it's obvious.
Irrespective, I think.
Okay.
We've heard from Arne Slot, and he's mentioned that Kwanzaa is a bit of an injury out, and now we've heard from reports that he hasn't trained today. He hasn't trained today.
Oh, really?
Which is crucial, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
He hasn't trained today, so
okay.
So that makes it really difficult to play him over anyone for that matter this week, right? So yeah, I would firmly have him last on the bench if possible. That's what I'm doing with my team.
Okay, understand. Okay, let's end with this question, which I like as a Chelsea fan. Johan says, best Chelsea asset considering their upcoming fixtures. Let's do this in terms of value as well, because obviously Palmer is the best asset, but price is important.
Yeah, I think this is a bit tricky to answer. I still think I would go with Nkunku first. Then I would probably go with Palmer. Again, this is relative to the price, like Jack is mentioning. I'm not saying that Nkunku is better than Palmer or anything of the sort. Of course, Palmer is better. And third, I would actually go with Sanchez because we did hear from Maresca, and he said that Sanchez is likely going to be the number one, and Jorgensen is going to be played in the cup competitions. So it looks as if Sanchez is going to keep playing in the league until he makes a few errors. So yeah, I think he could be good value. He's actually one I'm potentially eyeing up later on a wild card if he keeps playing well.
Is Sanchez?
Yeah, if he plays well.
Oh
Again,
man,
contingent.
This is me being a Chelsea fan here, and me like obviously. If you are watching this, Robert, no offense.
Okay, who would be the third one you choose?
I do not rate him at all. I was unhappy when we first signed him. He's so bad with his feet. I actually watched back a video of mine in pre-season where I was going through my team, and I had him in my team. And I just thought, what are you doing? I know how much I dislike him, and I know we signed him to be good on the ball, and he isn't good on the ball. You saw when he just passed to De Bruyne in the last game. I was like, mate, what are you doing? It wasn't as if De Bruyne was even hidden behind, a Chelsea player or came from nowhere. He was there the whole time. He just got it wrong. I also don't think he's a very good goalkeeper in terms of actually like shot stopping either. I think he should have saved Kovacic's shot. But anyway, yeah, you are right. The manager did say that. Although I do think it's a matter of time. Jorgensen played pretty well yesterday. Made quite a few saves. And yeah, I'm not sure how long Sanchez is going to be in the team. Although maybe I'm saying that out of hope more than reality, to be honest. I would go for Gusto, to be honest, as the third pick there. I think Palmer and Nkunku are clear. I'm just looking at it here. Now, Fantasy Football Hub have his predicted minutes to drop in a few game weeks, and that's why his predicted points go down. I'm not sure that that's too likely to happen because I'm not sure when Reece James is going to return. I think it could be longer than we think because I think we might be extremely careful with him just because he's had so many injuries now back to back. Not entirely sure what the future holds for him, but Gusto is going to be the more advanced of the fullbacks. Now he is playing more inverted because that's the system that we're going to play as like a WM 3-2-2-3 with him moving into midfield, which isn't as good as him flying as he was doing, like overlapping last season. But Cucurella's more safe for minutes, I would say. But I would go for Gusto there. But I don't know. It depends. If you believe what the manager is saying, Sanchez is the most secure for future minutes. But I just don't think he's going to stay in the team for that long. But yeah, I agree. I'd go in Kunku, Palmer, and then I would go for Gusto. But yeah, let me know in the comments, guys. What do you think? Because sometimes when I comment on Chelsea, I know that I have the bias of being a Chelsea fan, which isn't always a good thing. It means I've got more information about the club and the players. But do you not think that, Bakar? Sometimes your own like club biases can be a bad thing, not just because you want to pick the players, but actually because sometimes you don't pick the players because they're your players, you know?
Yeah. I agree. It could actually go both ways. I mean, sometimes you can get ahead of the curve if you have insights on any particular player and you sort of tend to know a bit more than the casual FPL manager. But sometimes it can work against you. For example, like players can end up captaining players from their specific clubs just because they want them to perform well, but that does not necessarily translate to FPL points.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's round off this live stream with one more super chat from Taylor. Thank you very much. Who says, triple captain tempts me as EO will be roughly 100%. Is that silly rationale?
Not necessarily. I mean, if you want to get off to a quick start, then I sort of get the idea, but I mean, you sort of have to realize that it's a marathon, right? It's not a race. It's not a sprint. It will take time. Even if you sort of get ahead of the curve right now, people who potentially have the triple captain for later, they can easily catch up. So in the short term, yes, you'll gain. So if you're, let's say, competing for, let's say a manager of the month in your particular league, then it sort of makes sense. But in terms of overall rank, I don't think it'll make a massive rank switch or a rank change at the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, Bakar, I think that's going to do it. Anything that we've missed that's pressing that's come out today? Solanke really is the main news, wasn't it?
Solanke and Kunku we've covered. We're keeping him. We're happy to give him another week. Apart from that, there's not much to talk about. So yeah, I think let's call it a day.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Let us know in the comments down below whether you're watching this live or you're watching it later. If you want this to be a regular thing, I think it's good. It's good fun just to get your guys' questions and yeah, me and Bakar, well, Bakar especially, can give you solid answers to your conundrums. But yeah, that's going to do it. Make sure to subscribe, as Bakar said. Make sure to like the video, as some kind person in the chat said. And make sure to sign up to Fantasy Football Hub. It's not too late. This is actually one of the best times to do it. Bakar, good luck this game week. How many points are you going to get?
Cheers, man. More than you, hopefully.
Okay, let's end things there. Good stuff, mate. Good stuff.